Yes, people, Manscaped is back, but this time it's not for below the belt grooming. Manscaped brings to you the Beard Hedger, the best product on the market when it comes to beard trimmers. The Beard Hedger is unique due to its number of gradient settings. As someone who's purchased this, I won't turn to any other beard trimmer. Check it out for yourself at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use code FTM20 to get 20% off of this product.
Yes, people. We are back. The reason we're back is because it's an afternoon show, which means there's Arsenal news. It's Arsenal talk. Big up to everyone that's here already. Big up to everyone in the chat room. Big up to everyone that is listening on Catch Up. Please make sure that you do click on the link and you get yourself a set of beard trimmers. Beard Hedger is the way forward. Manscaped are no longer just doing below the belt grooming. They are the only place to go when you want male grooming and men's grooming products. So please make sure that you click on the link, click on the Beard Hedger. When it comes up, you'll see it on the products there. You'll get 20% off automatically. So all you've got to do is click that link and it will take 20% off of the Beard Hedger for you. So there you go. You've got to go and get it while it is on. Don't miss the chance. Click on it. If you haven't got a beard, get it for your dad, get it for your brothers, get it for your family, get it for your friends, whoever you feel needs it. Please make sure you do that and support the sponsors, Manscaped. Big up to everybody that's here early. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you are subscribed. We are so close to our next target. We really need you guys to hit that subscribe button. So please make sure that you do that. Big up to the chat room. It's always great to see some of the familiar faces coming back. So big up to all of you. Big up Tim, Christian, Ash, Greedy Man, Niffin, James, Jake, Kyle. Listen, big up, man. If you're from Barbados, absolute legend. I would love to go to Barbados. That's a place. So big up, my bro. Big up to Liam, Tammy. How are you? Hope you're well. And big up to Ola as well. All of you real ones in the chat. Big up to all of you. Listen, there is some news when it comes to Arsenal. There's always news. Transfer news is flying. It's starting to pick up now. And after a very slow start, it might actually be in Mikel Arteta's plans all along. It is starting to shape up very nicely in terms of rumours, but we have to get him across the line. And as we've seen with the Calafiori deal, it isn't always easy to get things done very quickly. I'm not going out over to the pre-season tour. All the AFTV boys are over there already. Curtis Shaw is there. Lee Judges is there. Cecil's there. James is there. Robbie's there. Keeping up to date with everything that's going on over there. So please make sure that you are supporting the boys and look at the content. I mean, there's one I saw today, a Judges sunbathing outside, like sang out Benidorm. I mean, it was unbelievable. Judges, I love you, mate, but come on. Soaking up the sunshine he was, like he was on Love Island, I think Robbie said. So big up to all of you. I hope that you are all well. Big Six are there too. Yes, Kyle, you're absolutely right. They are there. Matisse, Turkish, Saeed, Tobes, Grizz, Hugh, they're all there, man. So make sure that you go and follow both of them channels. Two of the best, in my opinion, but I would say that because I'm biased. Big up to all of you for being here. We're going to talk Arsenal news. We're going to actually start with some breaking news from Fabrizio Romano, and it's actually concerning a player that is probably on the way out. And a few people have mentioned it in the chat. So let's talk about it. Are we happy? Are we okay with it? What do we think about it? It is Reiss Nelson. And according to Fabrizio, Leicester are the team that he looks to be going to. Leicester City have opened talks with Arsenal for Reiss Nelson. It is a loan deal. Oh, dear. But it is with an obligation to buy in talks over financial terms with Arsenal. Leicester are confident that they can persuade Nelson if the clubs come to terms, as he's previously worked with Steve Cooper. Now, as you know, Steve Cooper was kind of very, very famous for the win of the under-17s, where he took all of the young English lads that, let's be real, now most of them got themselves into the first team, the Phil Fodens of this world. I think Jadon Sancho was there at that time. You obviously have some of them which haven't made it in. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think it was Cole Palmer, one of them guys. I can't remember. But Reiss Nelson was in that bracket as well. And Steve Cooper has worked with him. I know it's frustrating that it's a loan, but at least with the obligation to buy, it means that it's a player that we can actually use the money on now. So we know that money is coming in. I mean, I spoke to Tom last night and he said that obligations to buy are fine. Options to buy are the ones that are really frustrating because you can't guarantee that that money's coming in. At least with the obligation to buy, particularly now with the PSR stuff, you know that money is coming in to save you. And so you can actually spend it. So I'd like to think that we can agree something as close to 20 to 25 with Leicester if it's an obligation, because they might see that as, do you know what, fair play. My problem is that obligation to buy going to be cancelled if Leicester were to get relegated? Would Reiss Nelson be happy to go to Leicester, who in my opinion are favourites to be relegated? Would Nelson want that? I'm not too sure, because if you're going to a club that's going to play first team football, that's always attractive. But if that club's favourite to go down because of their 6 to 10 points relegation deduction that they're probably going to get for their FFP, they've got to be favourites to go down, Leicester, right? I mean, let's be honest. They've not made any signing that looks absolutely outstanding. They've done some business. Reiss Nelson will be a good piece of business for that. They've lost Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. Jamie Vardy's not the same player. Maddison and Tielemans are no longer there. Who else have they lost? Castagna. They've lost Soyuncu. Who else is actually left? Kasper Schmeichel's gone. There's quite a few players now that Leicester are coming back into this Premier League, and we don't know what they're going to be like. So I would sell him. Absolutely, I would. But I think sometimes we need to look at Reiss Nelson and think, how vital is he to this Arsenal setup? Because I would be selling him, no doubt. My problem I've got is obligations to buy. What is that going to look like? Because I'm happy with it, but how much is it? Let's be real. How much is it? That's what we want to know, isn't it? That's what we want to know. I'd be happy to see Reiss go. I'm a big fan of him as a person. I don't think he's good enough for Arsenal, if I'm brutally honest. I think maybe some people might think that's a little bit harsh. A lot of people like him and want him to come good. But I look back now at Reiss Nelson and I think, you're 24. You've got to go and play first team football. Few people in the chat, yeah, he's not vital at Arsenal. And that's the question. He's not. So we've got to try and sell him. And he's one that I've been happy to go throughout the whole of this window. Leicester are a team that I think will give him 100% first team football. My only worry is, how set is Reiss Nelson on this? So I'm kind of, I would be worried, I suppose, if this obligation to buy would be canned. I mean, the obligation to buy has got to be an obligation. Like they have to, it has to be like, do you know what? We are going to pay you. It's not going to be this summer, but it will be after this season, and we are going to pay you. And I think because we're allowing them to have him for a full season without paying him, I think what we can then do is probably try to actually ask for a little bit more. Like, I actually think we might be able to go and say, do you know what? Look, he's 25 million, but because you want him on loan for the season, you know, or we wanted 15, 20 million, but we might be able to get 20 to 25 now, is what I'm getting at. Might be able to just push it a little bit more. Sorry, I'm absolutely sweating here. It's so hot in this room. Absolutely crazy. So that's where I'm at with Reiss Nelson. Fabrizio Romano doesn't get things wrong. Leicester are clearly after him. Steve Cooper's clearly a fan of the player. I think Reiss Nelson would be interested in the move because of the manager and because of the first team football opportunity. It depends who else comes in. I mean, West Ham were sniffing around Reiss Nelson, weren't they? They were sniffing around him. Are they going to be interested in coming in now that Leicester are looking at what the price might be? It might be that West Ham then look at that and go, do you know what? If Leicester are interested in obligation to buy with a loan, we'll be all over that. And West Ham might go and try and do a little bit of a bidding war. That's what I'm kind of hoping, in a way. There isn't just one club that wants all our players. You know, I'm glad that Eddie Nketiah has got some interest from the Premier League and abroad. I'm glad that it isn't just one club that wants Smith-Rowe. And I'm glad now that it isn't just one club that wants Reiss Nelson, because Nottingham Forest were sniffing around him. West Ham, we know, we're interested in him and looking at him. And I think now, also, Leicester have stepped forward and said, we will take him. This will be a good signing for Leicester. I have to say that. I think they guarantee him first team football. And I think what that does for Reiss Nelson potentially is it allows him to actually blossom into a player that he could be. He had really good spells at Hoffenheim, but then died down. Really good spell at Feyenoord, died down a bit. Come on and made some appearances at Arsenal, but didn't really set the world alight. But what I will say is this. In Reiss Nelson's defence, he's never had a bad attitude. He's never got the hump sitting on the bench at Arsenal. He's gone to Feyenoord and Hoffenheim and he's given 110%. He got something like 6 or 7 goals, in fact, for Hoffenheim, I think, in the first 8 or 9 games. He looked phenomenal. For Feyenoord, he wasn't outstanding, but he certainly wasn't bad. They got to the Europa Conference League final against Roma and lost to a Jose Mourinho's Roma. So he did well there. And then he came back to Arsenal and he had little glimpses, didn't he? He had little glimpses where you thought maybe he deserves more game time here. It was never maybe he deserves a start. He was never going to get in the team ahead of Saka or Martinelli, in my opinion. I think Trossard was definitely ahead of him. Smith-Rowe was definitely ahead of him. But as far as Arteta was concerned, Fabio Vieira, Kai Havertz, Jesus, all these guys were ahead of him as well. Maybe rightly so. But Reiss Nelson, I remember when he first scored a couple of goals last season, was it against Nottingham Forest or was that the season before? Now I get so confused. I think it was the season before. It was the season before. And I felt like he had a little something when he was coming on. I felt like he was a good sub. And I actually felt like he was better from the left, funny enough. When everyone said, oh, he's definitely a right winger for cover for Saka. He was actually playing left wing a lot more, Reiss Nelson. So Arteta didn't never seen him at that. He tried him there. If you remember, if you go back 5 years when Mikel Arteta arrived, you know he was actually playing ahead of Pepe. Saka wasn't around at that time. If you remember, he was playing left back Saka. He was only literally coming into the team. Mikel Arteta's FA Cup winning year, Reiss Nelson was playing on the right-hand side ahead of Pepe. He saw something in him. He thought maybe he could turn him into a little bit of a Raheem Sterling type player, but it didn't quite work out for him. Pepe and then Saka come onto the scene and he never really got a look in. And then it was from the bench, it was performances, it was loan deals. And then when he has been part of the squad, you can't say he hasn't really had time in terms of the years he's had at Arsenal, but has he had enough game time? I don't know if he has, if I'm honest. And I think that Mikel Arteta might look back at that and think, does he deserve a bit more game time? If the answer's no, then he's done the right thing by trying to get rid of him, haven't we? So Leicester are the favourites to go and get him. Obviously, he will always be remembered for that incredible last-minute strike against Bournemouth at home, where we were 2-0 down. And let's be real, I must say, we got to a stage where that's probably going to be recognised as one of the craziest last-minute goals at the Emirates. Didn't mean anything in the end. Neither did the Danny Welbeck one. Neither did the Thierry Henry one. In the end, the Thierry Henry goal that he scored against Leeds, where he come back in 2012, didn't lead to an FA Cup win. But you know what? They've all been good, haven't they? Let's be real. So let's see what happens with Reiss Nelson. But this is definitely a one that looks like it's going to happen, isn't it? I mean, let's be real. This is probably going to be picking up some pace now. When Romano reports on it, normally it picks up pace, unless it's Calafiori and there's other deals involved or other teams involved, because that is definitely taking some time. But I reported this morning, let's talk about that one next. I reported this morning, didn't I, that there was going to be some movement potentially on Calafiori. Now, I honestly believe this one is going to happen, guys. I think we've been patient enough. I think we all want it to happen. I think we just want to hear the here we go news now. And I really don't think it's far away, because AFC stuff, if no one's following these on Twitter, follow them. They're pretty good. They cover all rumours of all sorts, all sources, reliable, some maybe not so reliable, some loosely linked, some heavily rumoured. And this was reported not too long ago, yesterday, that Ricardo Calafiori's transfer to Arsenal will reach the definitive white smoke. Delightfully put, in the next few hours. Bologna are confident to tighten the agreement with Basel regarding the final details of the deal. We're almost there. Listen, we must be almost there. I mean, we literally have been talking about this for how long? It must be 3, maybe even 4 weeks now. I mean, the Euros, when Italy went out, that was when we started talking about this guy. They went out ages ago. So I think now is the time. Calafiori is going to be our left back. I've mentioned that many times, and I'm not going to go into it again because I'm just going to be duplicating and repeating what I've said. But him and Timber will be the left back options, in my opinion. I don't know what that means for Jakub Kiwior, but definitely, and Zinchenko, by the way, but definitely these two, I think, are going to be looked at as the left back covers. Now, we mentioned a player earlier. Let's move this news up, because this is all previous stuff that we've spoken about before in pre-season, and everyone looking good in training, including Jury and Timber. But we have spoken about maybe a departure this morning. Jakub Kiwior. Now, apparently, Inter Milan are close to an agreement with Jakub Kiwior. That's come from reports in Italy. And Fabrizio Romano, I haven't heard anything from him in relation to Kiwior, but it does look like there is some interest. Now, we are obviously aware that Jakub Kiwior is probably going to be the player that ends up leaving for Calafiori to come in. Now, some people might think, well, that's just one for one. That's just like for like. We've got someone coming out. We've got someone coming in. I don't mind that if it's an upgrade. And I think Calafiori is an upgrade on Jakub Kiwior. Now, Kiwior, if I'm honest, we'll probably get our money back at a little bit more. We tried him, January signing, if you remember, £20 million. I think this is a huge upgrade. Calafiori is being tipped to be a great, great defender and tipped for great things. So for me, there's definitely 100% some rumour in this. I don't know who is favourites to get him. AC Milan, Lazio, Bologna wanted him. Inter Milan now. Juventus was sniffing around him. Clearly, he's going back to Italy, right? We just don't know where at the moment. Fabrizio Romano is saying that we haven't received any approach yet, but there are a lot of rumours sniffing around that Serie A are looking at Kiwior. I actually don't mind him. I've got to say, I actually don't mind Kiwior. I don't particularly like him as a left back. I definitely don't like him as an inverted left back. But I thought he was okay when he came in as left centre back. I thought he was good cover for Gabriel. If we're going to have Calafiori at left back, maybe there's space to keep Kiwior still. However, if a player wants to go and get first team football, you've got to let him, haven't you? We've still got left backs there that can cover. We've got absolutely loads of left backs and right backs now at the club. We don't need any more fullbacks at the club, that's for sure. If Calafiori comes in, him and Timber and Zinchenko and Tomiyasu can all play there. Timber and Tomiyasu can also play right back with Ben White. We've definitely got enough, right? We really have. So that left-hand side is only just the start. I think this might have been the plan all along. I think Mikel Arteta wants to look at the left-hand side of Arsenal, which brings us on to the next news. Now, the next news we know is linking us with two players I spoke about this morning. And if this is to be believed, this will be exciting. Mikel Arteta, once the Calafiori signing is confirmed, wants to put all his attention to bring in both Mikel Merino and Nico Williams. Now, hear us out here, guys. I am not saying that these two are definitely coming to Arsenal, but the plan, I believe, is to look at this left-hand side. Now, the left-hand side of Arsenal has been a little bit ski-whiff and lopsided for a while now. It's not been shocking. There's not any player on that left-hand side that I thought, wow, get out, you're a championship side player. But at the same time, it has nowhere near as strong as the right-hand side. And I think it's affected some of the performances of Gabriel Martinelli. I think you've got to give a lot of heap of praise on to Gabriel Magalhaes because he's been the only one that's been consistent and sustainable there. Everybody else has been chopping and changing. We've had a different left-back a lot this season just gone. Kiwior started to play a run of games there. Dumped out the side after Leroy Sané done him. Tomiyasu comes back in. At the start of the season, it was Timber. He got injured. Zinchenko come back in. Kiwior comes back in. Tomiyasu comes back in. You get my point. There's been no left back at Arsenal. If anybody says, who's 1 to 11 do you like? What combined 11s do you want? We can't really put forward a left back at the moment, can we? You probably put back Timber, but he's actually played one Premier League game for Arsenal. So it's difficult, right? That's definitely affected the game of Martinelli because other than Gabriel, he's got a different left back behind him every game. He's got a different left 8 behind him and next to him, every game. And he has had, for most of the season, a different centre forward, whether it's Trossard, Havertz or Jesus. So Martinelli is the only one that I can see who has had his game affected from that left-hand side massively. Now, some of that's on him because some of his performances have been really poor. I can't lie, they have been. Some of his performances, Martinelli, have not been good. And I'm a big fan of him. He's one of my favourite players. I wish he'd get his bloody head up when he runs sometimes, but he does cause havoc. His tenacity is unreal. His work rate's phenomenal. I love the fact that he's always looking to drive forward and he's an offensive player. His attack mind is brilliant, but also his finishing ability is very good, in my opinion, as well, when he's one-on-one. I have faith in him more than some of the others, and I do think there's a hell of a lot of potential still with Martinelli. Is he a left winger? Is he a number 9? I think he's a left winger for now. Can play on the right as well, as we saw a few times. But let's be real, the left-hand side's been a bit dodgy. So what can we do about that? Well, Calafiori can come in straight away, and Julian Timber's there as well. So the left-back is sorted now. Calafiori comes in, and that allows us to have Ben White, who can invert, Calafiori, who can invert. You've got both options there. And you can, if you want, in and out of position, switch it around if you wanted to get really complex and complicated, which I'm sure Mikel Arteta can do, right? Defensively, we're solid. Gabriel and Saliba, now Calafiori, can play at the centre-back role as well. But the left-hand side in midfield is a priority. Now, in midfield, Declan Rice played majority of his season at 6 and was a man of the match in about 8 games playing there. So he was phenomenal. But a lot of people preferred him in the 8 because his ball-carrying ability is phenomenal. Now, I still think he can play in both positions. Don't get me wrong. It's clear. But where do we see him? Is he an 8 or is he a 6? I would suggest that Mikel Arteta still sees him as a 6 because the players that we're linked with have all been more in the Granit Xhaka type role. And that begs the question, have we replaced Granit Xhaka? No. So I know this sounds really harsh and people think I'm being really critical here. I'm not. It's just a fact. I don't think we've replaced a few players for quite some time. I don't think we've replaced Emi Martinez still. I think David Raya is good, but he's not up to that level. I don't think we've got a defensive left back as good as Kieran Tierney yet. Since he's gone. We've seen little bits and pieces, but none of them have managed to stay in that left back role. We've definitely not replaced Granit Xhaka yet. And we've definitely not replaced Aubameyang yet. So what I mean by that is we've not got a consistent left 8 that played in the mould of Granit Xhaka and was giving 8s out of 10s every game. We've not got a striker that gets you 25 goals like Aubameyang did. We've not got a left back in Kieran Tierney that gives his 100% all, that plays there, it's defensively good enough, that overlaps, that crosses the ball in. And we've not got a goalkeeper like Emi Martinez, whose all-round game is top level, World Cup winner, right? So these are the players that we're going to have to look at. Now, we're not going to get a goalkeeper ahead of David Raya. We're not going to. That's just not going to happen. Okay, I appreciate that. And I don't want to go into the goalkeeper situation again. But the midfield is something that we really do need to look at. And I've spoken about this quite a few times. We need to look at that midfield as a priority. We need to future-proof it. We need to be aware of what Declan Rice is. And we need to be aware of how many players we need to bring in. Do we need to bring in an attacking player? Do we need to bring in a number 6? Do we need to bring in a number 8? Or do we actually need 2 or 3? And this is the problem we've got. If we don't bring in a 6 and an 8, we might need one that can play in both. And I'm not so sure that Mikel Merino can. So I would suggest that we're probably going to be in for another midfielder if Mikel Merino comes in. Now, before we go and touch on Merino, there are 3 positions at the moment that I think are set. If a season starts tomorrow, it's Partey, Rice and Odegaard. They're the 3. Jorginho backs up Partey. Rice backs up Partey as well, or probably plays ahead of him if he was injured. Odegaard hasn't really got anyone at the moment other than Smith-Rowe and Vieira. Declan Rice at the moment has absolutely nobody. So Mikel Merino is coming in my opinion, to fight for the number 8 shirt. Number 8 place, should I say. Not number 8 shirt. Number 8 place. Left 8 of midfield at the moment is probably Declan Rice. Merino's job is to allow for Partey to be out of that side because of his injury, which you imagine it won't last the whole season. And Merino will get game time at the 8 position. Rice will be 6 and Odegaard at 10. Do we need another player in there? I would say yes, we do, because I feel like we could take it to the next level with somebody like Bruno Guimaraes in there or somebody like De Jong in there. Are we going to get that player? I really don't think so. I really don't at the moment. There's not one looking likely. The only one who could is maybe Joshua Kimmich, but that's gone very quiet. So I don't expect Arsenal to move for any of those players I've just mentioned this window right now. But Mikel Merino actually has a lot of attributes that I like. And I'll tell you why I like this signing potentially. He was never on my wanted list. He was never a player I looked at and thought, yeah, do you know what? You're the guy who's coming in as the left 8. I tell you who was. It was Youssouf Fofana. That was who I wanted. I wanted Youssouf Fofana in the 8, and I wanted Bruno Guimaraes or Joshua Kimmich I would have taken in the 6, right? That is what I would have gone with. And then when you bring in Fofana, you're bringing him in as a squad player, and then you're looking at Bruno, Rice, and Odegaard as the midfield 3. That's what I was looking at, right? I like what I see from this guy. I like what I hear from this guy. And some of the best players around are the ones that people don't speak about because they're not noticed on the pitch. Now, when they're not noticed on the pitch, sometimes it's not a bad thing. One of the most underrated players that I believe Arsenal have ever had was Gilberto Silva. You never ever spoke about him or saw him on the pitch until he was missing. And let's not forget, back then we had Patrick Vieira, guys. Yeah, still playing. And we still missed Gilberto Silva when Vieira was there and he wasn't. And the people I've spoken to that are aware of Mikel Merino, none of them have gone, oh, that's a bad signing. What the hell are Arsenal want him for? They've all gone, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. He'd be a good signing for you. I think the attributes are there. I think the Granit Xhaka mold of player is there. He's tall, he's commanding, he has presence, he's imposing. He's definitely going to go to battle for you. And actually, he's up and down, up and down. So this is a perfect opportunity for Arsenal to actually spend a bit of money, like 20 million, which is what Real Sociedad want, to actually allow him to play in the 8 and be a proper 8. At the moment, Declan Rice is the only one we've got. There's literally nobody else. If he got injured tomorrow long term, who the hell are we playing there? Havertz again? Vieira? Smith-Rowe? Come on. We've got to be better than that. So now we've got to future-proof this, because next season, Partey and Jorginho are gone, people. It's just Declan Rice left. And who knows what's happening with Smith-Rowe and Fabio Vieira after this season. We still don't even know what's happening this summer with them. So for me, one thing that we have to do is look at the priority area in midfield. Now, the other thing I like, which has just been brought up in the chat, funny enough, there's two things here. First of all, he wore the armband for Sociedad a couple of times, so he's got the leadership qualities. He's experienced international, who's now playing for Spain and scoring for Spain as well, and is scoring for Sociedad. Scored against Germany, if you remember, in that game where everybody thought Germany and Spain was going to be the final, and they ended up getting each other before that. He was brilliant there. And I must say, 28 years old is a good age. That's not an age where you look at going, and he got a couple of years, isn't he? As a central midfielder, most of them are looking at 33, 34 now and going, yeah, let's go somewhere else. So we've potentially got 4 years of him at the very, very best. And I think when you hit 26 to 29, you're at your best. So we're not getting a Mikel Merino and thinking, oh, God, that's going to take a couple of years until he's ready. He's ready now. He goes straight in. And this is why I like these sort of signings, man. Because, yes, is Merino going to be looked at by rivals and go, that's it, Arsenal won the league? Nah, we're not saying that. We're definitely not saying that. I still feel we need another midfielder as well as him, right? But at the moment, this is a good signing for £20 million. You can't tell me that is not a good signing. Sociedad have accepted he wants to leave. He's explained and expressed his desire to leave. And Arsenal are very interested. Now, Mikel Arteta, he wants Mikel Merino. He's tried to map out his kind of journey. He's spoken to him and wants him to be his, midfield option. I hope those rumours are true, because this is where I will give them a little bit of credit. When they invite players in, give them the project, explain the view, sell them the process, project, whatever you want to bloody call it now. For me, I think the most important thing, and none of them words, the most important thing is, after our conversation, do you want to come and play for Arsenal? And if the answer is yes, which we believe Merino is very interested in, then Arsenal have got to then just make it happen. £20 million. This is a very easy deal. All he's got to say is, I want to come Arsenal, and we can get it done. The problem you've got is, we'll come on to the next player in a minute, which is in the same scenario. Barcelona are circling. And Barcelona are trying to sort their finances out. How many times have we heard that, people? Barcelona are skint. Barcelona have got no money. Arsenal are going to get them because Barcelona can't afford them. Barcelona can afford them. They'll find a way. They'll either be corrupt about it, or they'll get some, I don't know, players sold, whatever it be. They will have money. So if they want Mikel Merino, they can still get him. And if I'm brutally honest, Arteta's going to find it hard to try and convince him to come to Arsenal in London when he's already in Spain. He's a Spanish international and probably has his dream on either Real Madrid or Barcelona. So that could be very, very difficult if that's the case. But Merino looks likely, people. He looks very likely. If we can get Mikel Arteta and Edu to sell him the dream to come to Arsenal, then we can get him for £20 million. Now, does that excite the fan base? Probably not. I don't think it's deflating. I don't look at this signing and think, oh, roll my eyes, who the hell is this? Never heard of this Brazilian 20-year-old. What's that going to do to our midfield? This is actually a signing that I would quite like. It's a signing that I think has been highlighted. It's a signing that people have followed around. now for a couple of seasons. He's a player who I think since Granit Xhaka was gone probably could come in to do that role. And I think we missed that last season. I think if we would have kept Granit Xhaka as well as Declan Rice, I think we'd be in a very different position. Havertz wouldn't have been played in that 8. Would have been Rice, Xhaka and Odegaard for a lot of last season. So let's see what happens with Mikel Merino, right? Now let's talk about the other player that we're apparently going for. Once Calafiori's done, we want Mikel Merino and we want Nico Williams. This one, I just have a feeling might be a little bit trickier. Now, it doesn't mean that because we want both are going to end up coming to Arsenal or both are going to end up going. We might get one or the other. We might get none. But Barcelona are massively interested in Nico Williams, according to sources. And apparently, he's very keen on a move to Barcelona. Now, there's a number of reasons why, not just because he's Spanish and he's now won the Euros and wants one of the big Spanish clubs, but also because there's a lot of his teammates that are over there, right? The likes of Pedri, the likes of Lamine Yamal. He's going to be willing to go there, that's for sure. It's £49 million release clause. That is an absolute steal for a player of that quality at 22 years old who's ready now, that can come in on the right-hand side and left-hand side, that can probably not just cover for Saka, but start on the left-hand side ahead of Trossard and Martinelli potentially. This is an absolute no-brainer as far as we're concerned. Now I'll tell you why I believe it is a bit frustrating if Arsenal are mucking around with this, trying to work out if he wants to come or not. For me, do exactly what Manchester United did with Leno Yoro. Don't give him the option to say, oh, do you want to come to us? Just go and offer the money. Just go activate that release clause. And then it will be received by him and from the club. The club will pull him in. Athletic Club will pull him in and say, the release clause has been activated for you. It's Arsenal. And then he's got to make that decision. Does he want to come to Arsenal? Has he been sold the project and dream by Mikel Arteta? There was rumours the other day by one of the journalists, I think it was James Benge or maybe it was Charles Watts, saying that he has put a presentation in the format of a Declan Rice type signing. So he's tried to sell the project to him, show him where he fits in, show him where he's going to be for Arsenal, show him how his position is going to impact the team and how he can contribute into these number of games. I think if he's done that well, then personally, Nico Williams, we have done all we can to try and sign him. The only thing we ain't done yet is activate that release clause. Go activate it. Don't be scared that players will reject you. Jude Bellingham rejected Liverpool and Man City. It wasn't like a shambles. It's because it's Real Madrid. If he leaves, he wants Spain, and it's Barcelona is his dream. He's not rejecting Arsenal because we're rubbish. He's rejecting us because he'd prefer to stay in Spain. There's no embarrassment about that. And I don't know why the fan base sometimes gets so sensitive about that. Go and do all you can to be ambitious enough to get that release clause activated. It's £49 million. That is nothing for a player of that quality, trust me. Particularly if we're trying to get close to 40 for Smith-Rowe, then we absolutely have to do this. So for me, I think we have to be in a position where we have to be a little bit brave. We have to be a little bit ruthless and ambitious. We don't have to worry about Smith-Rowe, Trossard or Martinelli hurting their feelings because we're bringing in a left winger. This is getting better. This is about improving. This is about being ruthless. This is about winning trophies. It's not about, oh, he might get a bit annoyed if I go and buy someone that plays in his position. If you can maximise that position, you do it. So all of a sudden, these players start coming in and we've got a left-hand side that looks very, very different at the moment. We've got Calafiori, Mikel Merino, Nico Williams, and that left-hand side then looks incredibly strong. And, by the way, Mikel Merino and Nico Williams will know each other from their international days and they will know how to play each other because they're on that side. So for me, if they can have the telepathy that they had over in Spain in the Euros, it's got to be an absolute bonus for Arsenal. So be excited if this happens, people, because these are two very good players. People might look and go, oh, I want Eze, or I want Neto, or I want Rafinha, or Leroy Sané. Trust me, Nico Williams is the number one that we want. The only reason he's never been on my number one is because I never thought we'd get him. And I still have my doubts because Barcelona, I've been told, want him and he wants Barcelona. So I've never really spoken much about Nico Williams or Arsenal in their absolute confidence that we're going to get him. But we clearly do want him. The Athletic reported, I think it was last week, that Mikel Arteta has him as the number one target as a wide player. That doesn't mean we'll get him, people. It means that's who we want. There will be other options like Pedro Neto. Maybe we're in for Eze. Hell, maybe we're in for a couple more that we don't know about yet. But for me, Nico Williams is the guy that Arsenal do want. And I think reading the sources that we have, it's quite clear that we're massively interested in speaking to the player. And if he's tried to sell him the project, if he's spoken to his representatives and his agents already, if Athletic Club are just waiting for that release clause to be activated, it needs to be Arsenal that go in there first. We need to be serious about this because Chelsea, United, Liverpool, maybe even City, they will all be sniffing around him. They will, 100%. And if Barcelona want him badly and we're mucking around and waiting, we've got a massive advantage here because Barcelona are dilly-dallying. They're trying to sell players. They're not sure if they can afford him. They're trying to count their wages up. They're trying to see if they can afford his wages because apparently he wants quite a lot a week, but we can afford, 250 plus if that's what he wants. We've got to get in there quick now. Don't worry about them mucking around. Don't wait for them to go, does he want them? Does he want to go there? Does it? Boom, go and do it. Go release his activate his release clause, and let him decide where he wants to go. You activate that release clause in the next couple of days, you put that money on the table for him, he could be an Arsenal player very quickly. And this is what I think all the fan base wants to do. I don't know why we're waiting, if I'm honest. We've waited long enough. Yeah, these targets should have been identified long way back. He's the guy. Go and get him. So those 3 signings could be extremely exciting. Calafiori, Mikel Merino, and Nico Williams. And it's all on the same side, people. It's all on the left-hand side. And that will complement Gabriel Magalhaes. Potentially, if Martinelli does stay in the team, it will complement him. And it will definitely complement the right-hand side, who will not feel as lopsided, with Ødegaard and Saka and Saliba and White. We've then got an Arsenal side that looks very, very strong on both sides of the pitch. And I think that is an absolute dream for what Mikel Arteta wants. So they're the 3 that I'm looking at right now, thinking they sound realistic. I don't look at any of those signings and go, oh, we ain't getting him. You know, when like Mbappe come on the scene, it was like, I would love Arsenal to go for him, but it ain't going to happen. I don't think any of these signings are not doable. Calafiori looks like it's going to happen. Mikel Merino is £20 million. And Nico Williams has a release clause of 49 million. These could be fantastic players for Arsenal. They could be an unbelievable option. Now, a lot of people are saying that they would rather look at Premier League players. Ivan Toney, Eze, Pedro Neto, Mark Guehi, if we're still looking at centre-half. In midfield, Bruno Guimaraes. I agree with all of that. They'd be phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I think all of those players would definitely improve Arsenal. But it's about what players we can sell the project to. And Mikel Arteta and Edu at the moment aren't interested in those players. They're not interested in Ivan Toney. There's slight interest previously in Pedro Neto and Eze. I don't think the interest is real about Mark Guehi, if I'm honest. I don't think we're going to be bringing in another centre-half, if I'm honest. I don't think there's any doubt that he rates these players. I think that's fair. But are we going to be able to convince everyone that these are the players that come in? I'm not so sure, if I'm honest with you. I'm not so sure. So let's see. Let's see what happens with these 3 players. I have to say that after these 3 players come in, I still think there's more business that Arsenal need to do, which is a crazy thing to say. Now, the goalkeeping situation I'm not going to go into. It's very confusing to some. We've got the young lad from Ajax. We're looking still at Dan Bentley at Wolves. There's still rumours we might even get a 3rd goalkeeper to cover for Aaron Ramsdale because they don't believe Dan Bentley is the number 2. Let's just wait and see what happens with Aaron Ramsdale. Because I tell you this now, if we don't get the right money for him, and I'm talking 30 million plus, we are not going to sell him because he is not going for 15, 20 million pounds. That is way too less for a player of that quality. So I have to say that. Before we move on to the last bit of news, please do me a favour, people. There's nearly 700 people in here, which is unbelievably good. I'm really, really impressed with that. But we don't have enough likes. We don't even have 200 people. What you got to do is click the like button. It's really simple. It's absolutely free. And I really, really would appreciate it because it does so much for the channel and it really does help. So if you do enjoy the content, please make sure that you show that you enjoy the content by hitting the like button. It really is easy and free to do. So I do appreciate you all for doing that, people. And hit the subscribe button while you're there. There's 2 buttons that are free. And I do it on all of my shows I watch. I hit like, I hit subscribe. It's absolutely free. And it's fantastic because you get to watch all the content. Hit the notification bell so you know when I'm on. And please make sure that you have all at least clicked the link in the description and click the link in the pinned comments to send you to Manscaped. This would be great to get a couple of people to buy a couple of these products from Manscaped. It's 20% off. All you got to do is click the link, click on the beard hedger or find the beard hedger through the menu. Click on that and it automatically takes 20% off so you can purchase it. Get it for Christmas, early Christmas present, early birthday present for your dad, for his birthday, for your next Father's Day, for your brother, for your mate, whoever, or for yourself. Make sure that you do that because that is an unbelievable deal at the moment. And honestly, Manscaped, the grooming, for men's grooming, for me, the best. We've hit over 200 now, people. So thank you so much for that. So keep hitting that like button. Smash the like, smash the like, smash the likes. Hit the subscribe button and we move. We move on to the topic, which is probably going to be ongoing until that window shuts and until we find out if it's going to be something that we want to actually pursue. I am, of course, talking about the centre forward position. Now, do Arsenal need a striker? I think so. Are we desperate for one? Well, no, we're not, because we scored 91 goals last season and we were phenomenal in front of goal, right? But were we phenomenal in front of goal when it mattered at all times throughout the season? No. Well, not many teams are they? They all miss chances. But I don't think many teams would look at Arsenal and go, they're clinical. We score goals, don't get me wrong. Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Havertz, Ødegaard, they all score goals. But how many can you say in front of goal are guaranteed to score? Now, you might not be able to say there's many in the Premier League that are guaranteed to score. If I'm honest with you, I can probably think of 3 or 4 that I think I'd put my money on them scoring. Haaland would be one of them. Alexander Isak could be another. Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins would probably be the other 2. Other than that, I wouldn't like to lump a load of money on any of those strikers putting the ball in the back of the net. Maybe there's Jota or Son that I've missed. But what my point is, out of the ones that we can get, there's not that many of those that are available, are they? Maybe Ivan Toney. So the one player that is back, that is close, that is back on, that people are looking at, we've sent our scouts over to look at him. He actually scored a hat-trick yesterday for Sporting Lisbon. It is Viktor Gyökeres. Now, he has actually scored an unbelievable amount of goals in the last 2 seasons for both Coventry and Sporting Lisbon. He single-handedly put Coventry into the playoff final, and without him, they didn't get near it. For Sporting Lisbon, if you look at his GA, it's like close to 50. It's absolutely insane, the number of goals and assists he's got. Now, everybody will be shouting now at the screen, Farmers League, can't do it in the Premier League. Well, how do we know that? We have no idea, do we? Because people say, well, look at Makai Kesman. He come over and was rubbish. Look at João Felix. Look at Ramos. Look at Darwin Núñez. You can think of names for sure that have not done very well over there. But you can also look at names of players in leagues that have come over from the foreign leagues that are apparently farmers leagues that have done very well. France, Germany, Portugal, Spain, even the Belgium leagues. You look at what other countries have I not said? Other than Holland, let's be real. It isn't about where they start their game, is what I'm trying to say. It's about how good they are. And if they are good enough, they will make it work at the Arsenal. Now, Viktor Gyökeres is a different type of player. He's not a player in the box like an Eddie Nketiah. He's not a fox in the box like an Ian Wright. He's not a Thierry Henry who's going to drift out from the left and cut inside. He's not a player who is going to just stand around and just wait for the ball. He is a link-up player from what I can make out. He's quite good with both feet, definitely knows where the goal is. And for me, in that moment, I think he's clinical. And what I need is a killer. I will give you examples of games last season where we needed a killer in the box. West Ham at home, I think we had about 20 shots. Havertz missing them, Trossard missing them, Martinelli missing them. The other one is Liverpool in the FA Cup in the Emirates. The other one is Bayern Munich at home and away. The other one is Manchester City away, where we had chances, believe it or not, from Gabriel Jesus that we missed. Trossard, who just needed to square it across to Martinelli to put it in. There were a lot, personally, that you could look at. And I feel, personally, that there is an opportunity for Arsenal to get Viktor Gyökeres. That's what I think. And apparently, it's really, really a player that Arsenal are looking at. So let's see if it's a player that we want. Before I continue, I think a few people are struggling with the Manscaped link. Let me know if you are. you should be able to click and you should be able to look at, if you click on the website, go beard and face, click beard hedger, and then add it to your cart, click checkout, and then you should be able to do it from there. And it should take your 20% off. So make sure that you do that, please, people. That would be amazing. If you are struggling and you need to use a code, then use code FTM20. That's all you need. FTM20. Let's take a few questions, shall we? Because I think it's important to do that. Make sure you put your questions in the chat. If you want to throw in super chats, and of course it will go to the front of the queue. If you want to ask a question, then click the queue and then go from there. Okay, right. What we will try is, new link works for Manscaped. Okay, brilliant. Hopefully you've got it working. Let me know if you haven't. Let me know in the chat if you can't get it to work, Jua. But hopefully it will, mate. Click on the link. Go to Beard and Face. Go to Go to Trimmers. Go to Beard Hedger, and then go to the add to cart. Check out, and you'll see it would have taken 20% off. But let me know in the chat if it hasn't worked, and I'll try and sort it out. Listen, we're going to talk before we get some questions. Make sure you throw your questions in the chat, people. Victor Gyökeres, how much is he going to cost? Well, listen, Sporting Lisbon have said that they want the release clause activated and they want as much or as close to the release clause. That for me means we've got to release the clause of £84 million to get Victor Gyökeres if we want him. But there were reports suggesting not long ago that they want as close as they can get to the release clause. I wonder if Arsenal won't go in with a cheeky offer of 65, maybe raise it up to 70 to 75 and get him for around that. I think that would be fair. I don't think it'd be over the top money, and I don't think it would be like taking the mick money. But I will say that £84 million, which I think is, I don't know how much €84 million. What's that in pounds? Something like £76 million, something like that. I don't think that will be a bad piece of business. I really don't. I really don't see that as a bad piece of business at all. I think it's a player who definitely upgrades on what we've got. I don't personally believe that Havertz is going to get 25 goals. I don't think Gabriel Jesus is going to get 25 goals. In fact, I don't know that they'll get 20, if I'm honest with you, and can guarantee that they will. Havertz got 13 last season. Jesus got 14 in his best season in the Premier League for Man City. Does that mean with first-team football, playing in that number 9 every game, that they can hit 20? Probably on a one-off season. But I don't know if they actually will. The actual sorry, someone just made me laugh in the chat there about Manscaped products. I don't know if we will be guaranteed to get that 25 goal a season striker. And Gyökeres, although he might not be guaranteed himself to get 25, he's proven that at least he has got that in 2 separate leagues. One being in England. I know it's different in the playoffs and championships. I get it. But it's a competitive, physically demanding league. And he's gone over to Portugal and done exactly the same thing again. So let's be real, people. This would not be a bad signing. It might not be your favourite signing. Maybe you would prefer Watkins or Tony. Maybe you would prefer a youngster like Boniface or somebody like that. But let's be real. This would be a good option that is ready now, that is 26 years old, that is ready to come into a league and prove himself. I think he'd be a very good signing. And it's one that if Isak doesn't happen, which, let's be real, is probably not going to, that he would probably be next best. Now, a lot of people have said, do we go for a Gyökeres type player and then take the risk that we might not get a Alexander Isak? Do we do that? Well, maybe we will. But I think that we have done a lot of waiting. I think we've done a lot of waiting. Personally, that's what I think. Those that are trying to buy Manscaped, make sure if you add the beard hedger to your cart, then go to the checkout. You'll see the 20% discount is taken off. And it gives you free postage too. So I hope that helps. Appreciate that, Mum. Yeah, make sure that people do go over to that link. Click the link and then follow those instructions. Find the beard hedger. You'll get 20% off. It's a great deal at the moment. So make sure that you do it. It's only for, it's not for long. So please make sure that you click on that and get that sorted. And they're quality beard trimmers, by the way. Absolutely class. There we go. A new member. Oh, it's Donna Cullen. Look at that. If you would like to be a member like Donna, then please make sure you do me a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit join. And then you can be a member and support the channel, paying a very minimal fee a month. It does help the channel. As you can see, there's been a huge upgrade on the channel itself in terms of the graphics, in terms of the thumbnails, in terms of the actual rebrand. And that is all because of you guys. So I want to say a huge, huge thank you to yourselves, because that has made the channel go up a complete different level. So there we go. Let's take some questions. This one comes in as a super chat, and it is from Donna. Look at this. Fun fact, Mr. Potts, if I marry you, my name will be the same as your mum's. How about having 2 Donna Potts in your life? There we go, Donna. Listen, if I managed to find a Donna, that would be correct in my life. Big up. Thank you for the super chat as well. Much appreciate it. Let's take some more questions, shall we? Where are we? Let's go to this one from Brad. Says, Dan, what would you rate the window if we were to land Nico Williams and Merino along with Calafiori? Well, listen, these are the 3 that are most likely at the moment. And I'm not saying that they're all going to happen, but they are definitely, for me anyway, the 3 that are most likely. What would I rate it? A 10 out of 10 is, wow, everything's been covered. This is phenomenal. We're ready to win the league. A 9 is, yeah, we're pretty much there. Everything's been covered. Not sure all of them are ready, but definitely is good enough. An 8 would be, we've covered a lot of positions, but some we haven't. A 7 would be that we're halfway there. And I think we actually would be closer to a 7 for this one. Now, the reason I say that, as much as I'm really excited with Nico Williams, Merino and Calafiori, is because I still feel we need a striker. And I still feel we need another midfielder, because basically Merino's come in to replace El Neni. We've got Partey and Jorginho that are old. So we're still a bit short there. And I'm still not too sure what's happening in goal. So, yeah, I'll give it a 7.5, I think. Pushing towards an 8. Pushing. An 8, 9 or 10 would be, wow, we brought in Bruno Guimaraes on top of that. And we've brought in another exciting, talented attacking midfielder or whatever, just in case Smith, what's his name? Sorry. Why's his name? Smith-Rowe leaves the club. So that's what I would go, between 7 and 8, I think. I don't think we're quite there to go wow at that window, in my opinion. This one is from Mansa. Says, I read that Milan bid as little as 10 million for Fofana, which is holding up the deal. Surely we can hijack that deal. Okay, this is interesting. So for me, I personally believe that Yusuf Fofana was the one that we absolutely have to go and get. I thought it was very easy to do. I thought it was around 20 to 25 million from Monaco, and that he would be coming as a 24-year-old. He's a box-to-box midfielder. All of his attributes are great. Aerially superb, physically imposing, good offensively from corners and defensively from corners. It made sense to me, right? If that is stalling, Arsenal should be all over it. And I think they should be all over it, as well as Merino as well, by the way. I don't think this is we got to get one or the other. So I think personally, it's definitely a opportunity for us to go and take a look at. Here we go. Where are we next? I'm going to try and star as many as I can, but please make sure you put a Q next to it so that I know you're asking a question, people, because some people are throwing stuff in the chat and I'm going to miss it. Okay, here we go. Stowfall Bell says, do you think that Gyökeres will happen, Dan? Oh, do I think that Gyökeres will happen? Right. The reason I'm going to say no is because I don't feel that we will get a centre forward this window. Not because we don't need one, by the way, because I think they've been so impressed with Kai Havertz that I think they will probably use Havertz and Jesus again. They'll buy a Nico Williams-esque type player. They'll sort the midfield out. They'll sort the left back out. And they'll probably get a replacement goalkeeper. But I think that's probably all they're going to do. So I think they might get a goalkeeper, a defender, 2 midfielders, and a winger. I think they're the 4 that will come in, which is frustrating. But that's what I would say. But I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. I could be. Let's go to the next one, which is from Pavel, who says, maybe it is better to wait 1 year for Isak than to buy Tony or Gyökeres. This question is fantastic. And I'll tell you why it's fantastic, because this is a real torn question. Do we go and say, let's no longer wait, we've done enough waiting, go get Gyökeres, let's just do it, or Tony? and then we potentially don't get Isak if he's available the following summer? Or do we wait and then make Isak our Declan Rice signing where we throw 120 million at it the following summer? People might think, I don't want to wait another year because Arsenal won't win a title without a striker. This is why it's hard. I would be very, very tempted to buy Ivan Toney and go get Isak the following summer. Or if Gyökeres wants to fight for his place with Isak, then go get Gyökeres. But it's just that Toney's a hell of a lot cheaper. So if it was for me, I'm a fan of Ivan Toney and I think he'd do a great job at Arsenal. And for 40 or 50 million, I think you're getting a player there for an absolute steal, considering they wanted 100 million at the start of the season. I think that could be a fantastic option. My question is Alexander Isak going to be allowed to leave? And is he going to want to leave? No, he doesn't want to leave this summer. We know that. He's probably going to sign a new deal at Newcastle so that he's really expensive for anyone. So it could be unrealistic anyway. So I think we have to look at the now and live in the now. And I would say there's nothing stopping Arsenal selling a player next season, like Jesus, for example, and having one of Isak or, one of Toney and Gyökeres alongside Isak or fighting for position with Isak. That would be the dream, wouldn't it? That would 100% be the dream. So let's see what happens. I wanted to talk a little bit about Eddie Nketiah, actually, because Eddie Nketiah is looking likely to be leaving the club. We don't know, though, however, how close the Marseille move is. Obviously, there's Premier League clubs interested as well. So please make sure that we keep ourselves updated on that. But it looks like Marseille are the favourites at the moment for Eddie Nketiah. This one comes in from Hilton. What's the bench for the first game, Dan? Okay, this is an interesting one. I guess you don't mean pre-season because it's a bunch of kids. As for the Wolves game, I think if everybody is fit, we could start to see, and I don't want to name the 9 players that will be on the bench, but I think we will start to actually look at our squad and think, wow, no more Reiss Nelson on the bench, no more Eddie Nketiah, no more Fabio Vieira, no more Cedric, no more El Nenis. I think the bench will be potentially, if we get the players in that we are excited about, I think it could potentially look from the back to the front, backup goalkeeper, also in mid defence, Tomiyasu, Timber, Thomas Partey, Trossard, Martinelli, Jesus, and potentially Smith-Rowe or his replacement. That's much better, isn't it? That is so much better. Like if we're in a position where we actually need any of those players, we know they're ready. Like they're coming in to allow competition or at least not have that. They're coming in as adequate cover is the word I'm looking for. It's not that huge drop off. It's not that, oh my God, how are we going to be able to live with that? How are we going to be able to now have to worry about Fabio Vieira's now trying to be Ødegaard and Reiss Nelson's trying to be Saka and Eddie's trying to be our number 9 and stuff like that. There's only really been Martinelli and Trossard, if I'm honest, that are kind of like for like in terms of quality. There's not really been any of the others that have been anywhere near that quality, in my opinion. So now we start to get that. So come on, let's see what happens. Everyone is telling me there is a David Ornstein bomb. Let's take a look. This could be interesting if this is true. He does not normally tweet unless something is happening. So that could be interesting. Okay, here we go, people. This is good. Maybe we can start to relax now. David Ornstein says, 2 minutes ago, all agreements are now in place for Calafiori to join Arsenal from Bologna. The 22-year-old defender still needs to do a medical and sign, but the deal essentially is done. If everything goes to plan, the aim is for Italy International to link up with Arsenal on the USA tour. Boom! Calafiori is an Arsenal player. I told you guys this was going to happen very soon, didn't I? And it's amazing that it's now happened whilst we are live. It is superb. I am very, very happy. This is really good news. And if I'm honest with you, this is just what the club needs right now. There is no way that this one is not going to happen now. There was all this is stalling. This isn't going to happen. We're all losing our heads. It's a worry. This is a really good signing. Really, really good signing. So I personally feel like there is going to be a lot of excitement around this. And I feel personally that if the rumours are true for how good this player can be, then we should be very excited. Because when people start to say baby Maldini and he's got Ramos vibes, personally, I do feel like that is a little bit carried away and a little bit over the top. We're talking about, in my opinion, in world football ever, that is actually the two best defenders that I would go for. And I'm talking about ahead of the absolute legends of the game. Sergio Ramos and Paolo Maldini in my era were two of the best, if not the best, centre-halves. So I have to say that they are very, very, very high praise if you're getting linked or likened to them. But I don't really want him to worry about having to be a Maldini or having to be a Sergio Ramos. I want him to fit into this system. I want him to go into this left-back role. And I want him to be a player that is fitting in at Arsenal like a glove, so to speak. I think this player could be very exciting. From what I've seen, he's comfortable on the ball. Left back, left centre back, good range of passing, not just passing out from the back and spraying balls forward in transition. I'm talking about long range passing as well. The guy clearly loves defending. When you look at him, he loves it. He looks like he's very, very happy with on the football and interceptions. And what it also helps is we might get a few more women that like Arsenal now, because he's a very good looking boy, isn't he? That was what made me laugh when someone said, oh, Maldini and Ramos vibes. I was like, is that because he's got long hair and he's good looking? Like, is that what it is? He honestly is going to be a really good signing for Arsenal. And he is not a player I had on my list. Of course he wasn't, but I'm not a scout. He's not a player that I looked at and thought that I knew much about. But when you start doing your research, when you start looking at your stats, when you start looking at the attributes of the player, and when you start seeing little compilations and some of the best players and best media outlets talking about him, this will definitely be a very, very good signing. So get excited, Arsenal, because this might tie up very nicely for what we're saying. Pause, huge pause. This might tie up very, very nicely for what we're saying. Now, earlier on, I was talking a little bit about how this left-hand side might be transformed. And right now, yeah, he's the start of it. Definitely. A lot of people as well are starting to wonder what might happen with Timber. I would not worry about that. I really would not. One, because we need a squad. Two, because Timber's been out for 9 months with an ACL, and he can play in other positions. He's versatile. He might be playing right back, centre mid back, centre defence, and left back throughout the whole season. We need a squad. I think this is a very, very good signing for Arsenal. And I think it is a perfect fit for what we need on that left-hand side. I believe Mikel Arteta has identified him as what he wants as his left back and what he's not been able to get so far. And he's tried Tierney there. He's tried Tavares there. He's tried Zinchenko there. He's tried Tomiyasu there. He's played Timber there. And when you remember, Timber came in to cover for Saliba and be cover for right back, by the way. Timber was never bought to be our left back. He played there in the Community Shield and in pre-season because we had problems with Zinchenko, if you remember. And he stayed there because, of course, let's be real, he was very good there. And he looked to be our best player in pre-season. He got man of the match in the Community Shield. So he can definitely play there, no doubt. But Calafiori will probably look more comfortable there because he's actually a left back and a left-sided defender. So for me, I think it's perfect. Any other questions you've got, please throw them in the chat before we do come to a close. This is perfect timing for an Ornstein bomb. So please make sure that you drop in your questions. Bain Edits, this is a great question. The Calafiori deal might even look to be quite a good segue here and a topic for this. Now that it looks like Calafiori's on his way and Timber's there as well, what does this mean for Zinchenko? The question is, if we're keeping Zinchenko, could we try him in the 8? Now, this is something a lot of people have been calling out for. Oh, we've got to make sure that we get... Zinchenko playing in midfield. I don't even think he's playing there for Ukraine as much anymore from what people are saying. I thought he was pretty poor in the Euros, Zinchenko. And he's a player I probably would be selling as one of my number ones in the defensive area. I personally believe that Zinchenko is the one that has cost us a lot of points. Now, it hasn't cost us all of the games, but the mistakes he's made has cost us either goals, points, or both. And that's really frustrating. And I like Zinchenko in terms of, how he is on the ball offensively and what he does going forward, how he inverts into midfield. But I hate him defensively, and that's hate's a strong word, but I honestly think he's awful defensively. And that is just not something that we can allow. And Calafiori is not awful defensively. Timber is not awful defensively. And fair play to Arteta for highlighting that. You know, what I like about it is Zinchenko was his guy. And he's realised quite quickly that defensively, he's not the guy that we want. So I actually like this. I would sell Zinchenko. If we got anything over 300 million, 30 million, I would sell him. Even if we got 25 to 30, I would sell him. Now, Bayern Munich was sniffing around him. Vincent Kompany obviously knows him well and likes him. But let's be real. Like, they've got to sell before they buy anyone else, Bayern Munich. So, I don't know. I haven't seen any rumours of him leaving. I think Arteta likes him still. I think he probably wants to stay still. I imagine he's on good wages here. But I don't think that he's worked out, in my opinion, anyway. So, let's see what happens. But I don't think he will play in the 8. I just don't see him playing there as an option. EJH said, would you take Patrick Schick from Leverkusen? A player I've always admired over the years, but it's not one that I think can lead the line for Arsenal. I'd rather go for Victor Gyökeres or Tony. Bejan Guna says, YouTube doesn't allow us in Caribbean to become members or send super chats. Listen, man, I do not mind you not becoming a member or sending a super chat. As long as you've hit the like and you've subscribed, my bro. That's all I can ask you to do, mate, because those two things are free. I never ask anybody for money on here. This is free content for you all. If you would like to contribute to the channel, you know how to do that. You just click join and you're done. You're a member. All right. And that's all I ask. Everybody, please hit the like and subscribe because they're the two things that are free. If you would like to support, you can click join and become a member. All right. That's the way you do it. So don't worry, my bro. I much appreciate you being here. It does not matter. Kismo Gunner says, Dan, I don't understand why this hype for Nico. Tell me one person that said we need to sign nice before the season ended or before the Euros. We need to stop this hype about him. I think the hype is fair, bro, because of how he's lit the Euros up. I don't know many that wanted him before, but I will say there was rumours that he was available and he was a name on the list. But I don't think that anyone was massively overhyping him. I think he's been good. I don't think he's been poor. I think he's been very exciting to watch in the Euros, and I think it'll be a good signing, my bro. So yeah, I don't know what you believe, but maybe you think he's all a little bit too much. Locks in the house, bro. Hope you're well. Make sure you go over to follow Locks on socials. Leicester fan, talk to me on Nelson, bro. Well, you're gonna have to wind back and watch the start of it because that was the start of this. Nelson would be a good signing for Leicester. Obligation to buy. Would he want to go to Leicester if you get relegated this season? Probably not going to want to stay. Is that going to then cancel the obligation? That's what we discussed. You have to wind back and go and take a look at that one, bro. I'm not going to bring it all up and go through it again, but I think it'd be a good signing for you, mate. I really do at Leicester. Arsenal AI News says, what if Eddie Howe leaves for England? Do you think that Isak would waver? Listen, I don't think Isak or Bruno are going to go anywhere this summer, but if they don't get Champions League football, I actually think all three of them could go. I think Eddie Howe could go anyway, whether it's to England or just be sacked. I think Isak and Bruno will probably look to say, right, I'm in my 20s here now. I want to be making sure that I'm playing Champions League football for the majority of my career. I've got to get off. So this is a bloody important season for Newcastle. I happen to think they'll do very well. If you look at Newcastle's squad, it's really good. The injuries depleted it last season. If you look at Isak, you look at the backup they've got there and Callum Wilson, you've got Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, Joe Linton coming back, Joe Willock as good cover. Obviously, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali coming back, Sven Botman coming back. Rumours of a centre-half coming in. They've obviously just signed Lewis Kelly. They've got Lewis Hall, as well as Dan Burn. They're looking at another right-back. Livramento's there. Newcastle, one game a week with no European football. They should be getting Champions League, 100% in my opinion. And I think they can do it. This one comes in from Anthony, says, if Manchester United going for Zubimendi, do you think Arsenal will throw the hat back into the ring? He's a player that I think we could get. I believe he's got a release clause of £50 million, actually, but I just don't think he wants to leave, bro. I think he wants to stay over at Sociedad. And I think his dream is to be the next Xabi Alonso. So maybe he's hoping Real Madrid might sniff around him if he stays in Spain. Let's see. This next one comes in from Double G Triple H, says, who else do you think Arsenal should add to the team? This is a really good one. Really good question. Okay, let me give you my dream scenario. It's got to be realistic. I'm not going to go Isaks and all these players. I think with who's available right now, I'm not going to talk about a goalkeeper because it's just anyone to back up Ramsdale. But in defence, Calafiori's come in. I think that will be it. Nico Williams and Mikel Merino, definitely. I'm going to throw in Joshua Kimmich because I think he'd be phenomenal for Arsenal. And then up top, Victor Gyökeres or Ivan Toney. That's what I think. And then you've got cover for Saka. You've got backup that's better than Eddie. You've got a proper striker. You've got a midfield in Merino and Kimmich. And do you know what? I'll throw in another name, Eze. Because I think Eze can come in and cover a number of positions. And I think if Ødegaard was to get a knock, I don't think Vieira's that guy if Smith-Rowe's leaving. So that's what I'm saying. So we'll go with that. Let's star some of these. We're going to come to the last few questions now, guys. This is a good shout, by the way. I think that is a really good shout. Brian Mbeumo. I can see him leaving Brentford. I really can. So we'll see where he goes. Okay, let's get rid of this one. This one is Gurav, who says, is Smith-Rowe leaving? I don't know is the answer. Charles Watts has said that Arteta likes him, doesn't want him to leave, but believes that we might reluctantly sell for the right money. So that means Fulham and Palace are going to have to pay upwards of 35 to 40 million, in my opinion, if he wants to go. So watch this space and see if he does. This one comes in from Milhal, who says, what would be your dream signing? Alexander Isak. That is the dream. That is the one that I think takes us to the next level. That's what I would say. Yomi, should I say, says, we were told Phase 5 Arsenal would sign marquee players like Musiala, and now they're getting Mikel Merino. When are the world-class players coming in? Okay. World-class players are probably not coming in, bro. And you're right to bring it up. I think what we need to do here is not say this is a load of nonsense. Arsenal should be looking at world-class players. I think we need to actually look at why they said that in the first place, because that, for me, is definitely not something that we should be saying 4 years ago, in my opinion. But that's not something that we should be saying. Is we just buy youngsters, then we sprinkle it with gold dust and buy world-class players. Well, where are the world-class players coming in? You're not going to get them. You're not going to get them Mbappe's coming in. Who is world-class? Name me world-class players now that are available. Are we going to go and get Haaland? Are we going to go and get Kane? No. Well, who's world-class in the striker position that we're going to get then? There ain't one. Who's the world-class defensive midfielder that we're going to go and get? Rodri? He's world-class. We're going to get him? No. Centre-halves after Saliba and Gabriel. Can we go and get, Ruben Diaz? Is he available? No. So it's a stupid thing to say. I don't know why they said it, but they did. Musiala, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So we have to be real about it. Niffin, this is a great shout. Morgan Gibbs-White. A lot of people like him. I do as well. Think he's a good player. I'd rather have Eze. I don't know how much he's going to cost Morgan Gibbs-White. Probably 45, 50 million, I imagine. I'd rather have Pedro Neto. I'd rather have Eze. So I'll answer that one very quickly. And hopefully that is not going to be something that happens. Where else are we here? Okay. Big GZ says, if we don't win the league, do you think it's time for Arteta to go? And would you do a full body manscape? If we win the league, mate, I'll do a full body manscape. Arteta, I've said this before, if he doesn't win a trophy, I think it's time that we replaced him. A lot of people believe that's harsh and think as long as we don't regress, then he should keep his job. But I don't think that we should be marching down Hornsey Road when Wenger comes second to get him sacked and then give somebody 700 million plus to spend over 5 years and not win a trophy. I think the standards need to be the same throughout. So, but that's only me. Some people disagree with that. Kevin says, have you seen the Ornstein new tweet about Calafiori? Yes, we have, mate. If you wind back, we've literally just spoken about it as we got to the news breaking. So, yeah, make sure that you catch up with that. Listen, we're going to leave it there, people. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been over an hour with you guys, which has been phenomenal this afternoon. 600 people still in here. And we have got only 348 likes. Let's get that up to 450, please, people. All we've got to do is click the like button. It's free to do. Doesn't take 2 seconds. And the subscribe button as well, please. That would be amazing. We are pushing towards our next one, which is 30K. And please make sure you hit the link for Manscaped, you need to go to Beard and Face, Beard Trimmers, Beard Hedger is what you're looking for. It's 20% off. Don't miss that deal. You'll be gutted if you do miss that. Please make sure you click on that now. Make sure you go over to it. There will be a 20% code that automatically comes off using FTM20 for this channel's code. So please make sure you support the sponsors, Manscaped, of this. Click that link and go and get the best beard trimmers that you will. Please, please, please do that, people, because that will support Manscaped massively and help with our sponsors and help them continue. We're going to leave it there. Take it easy, people. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Arsenal.
Yes, people, Manscaped is back. But this time, it's not for below the belt grooming. Manscaped brings to you the Beard Hedger, the best product on the market when it comes to beard trimmers. The Beard Hedger is unique due to its number of gradient settings. As someone who's purchased this, I won't turn to any other beard trimmer. Check it out for yourself at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use code FTM20 to get 20% off of this product.